All right, let's finish this thing. So we got that cap in. Now we have to test it out and see if it, explodes when we turn it on. So first thing to do, always make sure every single knob is all the way down, as off as everything can be. Make sure the amp is off and in standby mode. That ground switch is not connected to anything. It's just holding the wires that go to the transformer. It's basically a turret lug, a turret strip at this point. But it looks, keeps the original look, and you can switch it back and forth all you want, and it doesn't matter, it doesn't do anything. So the first step is to make sure the power tubes are out of it. I'm leaving the preamp tubes in. If they die, they die. All right, so let's see. I'm gonna try to use this grabby guy and grab onto ground. I guess right at the capacitor. That should be fine. And now, all right, the amp is running, right? I can't see. The light is too bright. Yes, okay. The lamp bulb, you can see it is glowing. So the amp's on. We're gonna start with that spot, 220 volts at that point where the two 68K resistors hit together, the triangle. This one is 166.5 volts. It's probably fine. I'm not looking at the schematic. I don't know what any of this is supposed to be. 366 volts and a half. So that all looks good. Here, we'll check the power tube. Here we have 498 volts on that plate. We have 498 volts on that plate. Our grid is negative 34.12 volts. And this grid is negative 34.12 volts. Cool. That all looks pretty good. All right, now I'm gonna pop some power tubes in it. So there's no actual bias adjustment on this amp. If you want to change the bias, you actually have to swap some resistors out, and I'm not even sure where they are, but we'll figure that out when we get to it. I am now going to shut off the amp, and I'm going to shut off its power source down here. And so I had some random tubes kicking around. I matched them with my tube tester. I don't know what the numbers mean. It doesn't really matter. It's just as long as they're all tested on that same tube tester, 54 matches with 54. So that's what we're going with. It's not the most scientific way to do it, but just working with what I got, because, that's what we got. So I'll pop those in there. I think the standby, I don't know if the standby matters that much on this amp. Here, you want to see the light bulb? Here's what happens when you put power tubes in it and turn on the series mode. Well, nothing, because you got to turn the amp on. So it got pretty bright. I was dimming out, and then you see it flickered right there a little bit. Wonder what that is. Anyway, that's not helping us. We just need full power to heat up these tubes so we can check the bias. This apparently is supposed to be a 60-watt amp, which is crazy because this output transformer is pretty tiny for a 60-watter. But so we're running two 6L6s. They're groove tubes. I forget exactly what, but they're more modern tubes. Here's some of the math that I used to figure out the bias. Well, also one detail is, if you can see those little pink resistors in there, those are 1 ohm resistors between the cathode of each tube and the ground. which is on that unused first lug, because this amp only runs 6 L6s. If you put any L34 in there, you know, I think it might just be fine, actually. The first pin is the suppressor grid, I think, on an EL34, and having it grounded is just fine. So this is the plate dissipation for the 6L6. That's what PA means, and that's a wattage. And it's 19 on the weaker ones and about 23 on the beefier ones. This is the math that you do to get there. The IK, that is the current at the cathode in amps. So the math you do, and the V+, that is the voltage at the power tube. So now that we have these power tubes in here, the amp is on, we will turn standby to operate. First, we are going to test that plate voltage again, now with the tubes in the amp. We have 469.5. And this one, 469.5. Perfect. So, I'm gonna write down, where's my pen? Two times 469, we'll even do the 0.5. Okay, and now let's get a calculator here. So we can do 2 times 469.5 gives us 939. So that's 23-ish divided by 939. So that's 24.5 milliamps. It's 0.024 amps, but when you go out to that third decimal, you're talking about milliamps there. So we have 24.5 milliamps is what we're going for, and because we have a 1K resistor, the math to get milliamps to millivolts is 1-to-1. So we can now measure the millivoltage at those resistors, those pink resistors there. So I'm actually going to move my ground guy here. Let's see if I can get him in here around the camera. Come on, buddy. There you go. No, maybe not. Maybe, there we go. All right. All right. All right. There's one. Exactly 25. Here's the other one. 27. So it's running a little bit hot, but I think that's close enough. I don't feel like figuring out where those resistors are, swapping them to make it perfect. We could actually try a different set of tubes and see what those read at. You know, these ones, I had 54 written on them, so let's see what we got. I don't have any more tubes. Fuck. Alright, here's some that say 50 on them. Shut all this off. Grab the hot tube with my fingers. No, let's let that cool down a little bit. Alright. Are they cooled off enough to grab? Yes, okay. So there's our 54s. Here's our Saftey, our 50s. 5881 WXTs, not the pluses. Oh, and we have broken the pin. Nice and dangerous. Cool. So it's supposed to go this way between pins 1 and 8. So let's line it up perfectly to go this way between pins 1 and 8. Right here. This way, yes, this way. Perfectly straight to the left. Where is it? Where is it? Where's the holes? Man, that pin helps with more than just the direction. It helps you actually get it in. There we go. All right, that one's in there dangerously. Here's this one. All right, now let's see if everything explodes. Let's go back to our series box here. Turn the amp back to standby, and we will turn it on. Okay, we're good. No explosions, no fire. All right. Heat them up. Heat them up. So now we're actually gonna have to go back and measure that plate voltage again because it will be different. All right, so our plates. Okay, so we got 470.5 and we got 470.1. So that really doesn't change our math too much at all. Yeah, by one number, 940 instead of 939. So we got 23 divided by 940. We should be seeing 24.5 still. I mean, it still rounds to the same number. So that really didn't matter. But now let's take a look at the bias. So we have 29 and we have 25. So the left one is running hotter. Last time we had a 25 and a 27. This time we have a 25 and a 29. I'm gonna put the other tubes back in because these seem better. Oh, this is a, what is, this is an EL34? This is a 6CA7? Huh. Well, I guess the first time, I thought these were 6L6s. Good thing they weren't something even weirder. These work just fine. We might try it with these tubes. It runs a little cooler. Yeah, why not? Let's pop those back in. Let's let them cool off. Let's let them cool off for a minute. Then we'll pop them back in, and maybe we'll go put it back together and see how it sounds. Ow! 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 Those are hot. Those are real hot. All right, let's put the 6CA7s back in, and probably have the only Silvertone 1484 running on 6CA7s. I don't know if anyone's ever really done that. It's really more of an EL34 type tube. But like I said, the way I wired this resistor for the biasing, to check the bias, I have what is the, I believe it's called the suppressor grid on an EL34. It's that pin 1, which is grounded. That's what I have, that resistor going between the actual cathode and that. A lot of Fender amps, they won't tie those together. They'll leave the pin 1 just open with nothing on it, or they'll use it for like the screen or something, and if you put an EL34 in there, it's just gonna explode immediately. Some EL34 amps have those pins wired together usually, so you can throw a 6L6 in there and it'll work just fine because it's not using that pin. If you ground it, it's not a big deal. Just like, you know, in this amp, if I put 6L6 in there, it's not using that pin, it's not a big deal. With the EL34 with the suppressor grid there, it's also not a big deal because we're grounding it, and grounding that is fine. That's normally how it is. It's grounded anyway, and it's 1 ohm away from the cathode. I mean, everything works. And apparently you can just pop in different tubes and everything's cool. So let's put this back together in the head cabinet and fire it up, see how it sounds. All right, so we're gonna turn it to operate.
some noise.